Hey guys, I finally got a chance to see Annabelle and Gone Girl, and I know it's been a while since I've done my review, and I meant to do this a few days ago when I actually saw the film, but some things came up, and I hadn't really had time to do it. But I'm finally going to talk about Annabelle real quick, and then I'm going to do a review of Gone Girl. So this will be a video split review. So going into Annabelle, I was actually looking forward to this film a lot because I'm a huge fan of The Conjuring. I thought The Conjuring was one of the best, scariest movies that I saw of last year, and it's been a long time since a movie like that came out, and it really brought back that mood, that atmosphere, that you lived in a time where horror movies were actually good for once. You know, you don't usually see that too often nowadays, especially when you're always bringing out movies that are trying to be either based on a book or is trying to be a remake of something or is trying to be an adaptation or a remake of like a Japanese horror film. You know, there's just certain movies that you don't really get to see anymore that push the edge of being scary. And I thought The Conjuring actually brought back that brought back that idea. You know, it deals with, well, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen The Conjuring, I'm not going to spoil it, but like it essentially is, it focuses more on story and characters more than it is with cheap jump scares and just, you know, loud noises and stuff like that. Because in that film you actually got to get what was going on, and yeah, it was actually based on a real life event that happened, and I really enjoy how that one was, it didn't rely, whenever time you would see a scare happening, it wasn't trying to be, you know, all in your face like this. You know, it was just trying to be its own movie. It was trying to actually bring back that old school horror that you've seen from like the 70s and 80s. You know, similar to what what Insidious did, which was also made directed by James Wan, who, and for also he James Wan was also the guy who did the first Saw film. And I think this guy's becoming a really great horror director. He really knows how to point the camera in a lot of spots. He really knows how to really great set up great scares in certain scenes, and he works very good with the actors and everything. And I think he's become one of the better horror directors that we have nowadays. And after seeing The Conjuring, I was really looking forward to Annabelle and seeing how they were gonna, well, not to spoil it again, but you basically get the origin story of what they mentioned in the opening scene of The Conjuring. Because in the beginning of the opening scene of The Conjuring, they had this short backstory of how Annabelle was basically a doll who, well, wasn't really who was really possessed. You know, and I guess you might be thinking to yourself, well, doesn't that kind of remind you of Chucky? Like in a way, it does, but from the way that you're picturing in your head, you know, what kind of things that Annabelle would be up to, you know, because this is a doll who not only is able to control other spirits, but is basically a puppet for the for from someone who's possessed. You know, it's really kind of complicated to understand, but you get the idea of what this doll can do. But yeah, going into Annabelle, this is a film that not really a lot of people have been hearing. I've been hearing that have liked this film a lot. It's getting reviews similar to when Insidious Chapter 2 came out. And honestly, I haven't seen Insidious Chapter 2. It's really rare that, you know, when in going into this movie wasn't actually directed by James Wan. He just produced it. The movie was actually directed by his cinematographer named James Leo or John Leo Tardy or Leonardi, or forgot how to pronounce the dude's name. But he was the the photography operator from all of James Wan's other films, and he also did the cinematography for The Conjuring. So it made sense that he would direct this film. But I have a lot of problems with Annabelle. I mean, I saw this with my girlfriend, and we were watching this movie, just like, this movie does feel like it's just dragging on too much. You know, first of all, the plot is essentially this couple, they're about to have a baby, and they're in living in this house, and the husband, John, he gets his wife a doll, and for her collection because she's a doll collector and she works on making quilts and all that, and or not quilts, but like she's a homemaker, or she likes to work with art and stuff like that. So he gets this doll for her, and I don't know who in their right mind thinks that this would own a doll like that, because that doll is really 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 creepy. I wouldn't. No, I would never get a doll like that in my house. But yeah, he gets the doll for her, and then as the movie goes on, you're just kind of wondering, like, is this doll ever gonna do something? Because like when I would admit the first 30 minutes I was actually giving it a chance because they were actually doing some neat scares and everything. But other than that, I mean, after like after when she finally has her baby, little minor spoiler, things do pretty drag on quite a bit in this film. I mean, I'll admit the movie does look nice. Like the guy who directed the film, he does know how to make it a some well-made shots, and he uses some good music and lighting in certain areas. But I really couldn't get into the characters in this film. I could care less about the wife, the husband, and the over-the-top priest in this film is just really bizarre. It's just this movie would have been is basically just like any other generic horror supernatural film. The reason why I loved The Conjuring more than this film was because The Conjuring actually had a very interesting story going on, and actually used some very clever scares in that film that actually were timed. They had better pacing, they had better timing, and you actually got into the characters a lot better for who they were. They're actually fleshed out better. This one is just, I mean, I'm just seeing a couple just sitting in an apartment building, and then every now and then there will be like a loud noise, or there'll be like something, or you have like some pointless scenes happening where like either a music will go off, or like what else? They'll hear like this something in this laundry room, or whatever, and it's just I could I would it's not unlike anything you've seen in other films, and I don't know. Oh, and but I will say this though. I mean, there was this one part where, if you've seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. There was one good scare that I do like. The part where she's standing in the bedroom, and then that ghost, or that woman starts running the room, and she turns to a little girl, or she sees like a little girl, and then she starts running the room and becomes a grown woman. I thought that was pretty creepy. And then you have another scene where the elevator is like not closing, and it keeps opening back up and everything, and then it's like in the background you can kind of see the demon come, or like the ghost coming further, closer and closer. I thought that was pretty clever. Other than that, this movie is just not what I was hoping for, and what a surprise! This movie seemed like it was rushed into early because they tried to push this movie out since Conjuring made a lot of money, so we got to push The Conjuring out so that fans of that movie can go see what really happened with the Annabelle doll. And and the ending was just very anticlimactic. I was really hoping they were going to go out with a big epic showdown like they did with The Conjuring, but no, it just turns into a really cheap, you know, it's like, hey, let's do this, and then that's over. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but you get my point. They could have done a lot better with this film. They have one of the weakest endings that I've seen that's ever been a epic that could have been an epic showdown, and they blew it. You know, Look, I know there are people out there who don't like the Conjuring because they thought it was a little too slow and it wasn't that scary that much. But you got at least, man, that movie did have had interesting characters in it, and at least had some interesting ideas of what they were putting into when they made that film, and also had a good soundtrack. But this one, no, I can't recommend this film. I mean, I didn't hate the film like some people did, but it's just really, really disappointing. I've seen this is like the fourth movie I've been disappointed this year, and I deserve this movie deserved a lot. This movie could have been a lot better than I hoped for. But yeah, that's really all I got. There's more I could talk about, but I really don't want to go into spoiler details. So when I get it, so here in a little while, I'll be doing a review of Gone Girl, and you'll be. But so I'm going to split this into two videos. But I'm going to take a break for a little while, and then I'll be back with my next review, which will be Gone Girl. So hope you guys tune in and see you in a bit.